Today on The Interview, we're on location at the first annual Penn State Pokémon Society VGC tournament. I'll sit down with tournament organizer and friend of the show, Matt Sabeldin, plus an interview with tournament champion and club president Alex Valente. That and more on The Interview. Hello, welcome to The Interview. I'm Dubulous, here with Matt Sabeldin and Penn State Pokémon Society President Alex Valente. We are here live at the Penn State Pokémon Society first ever VGC tournament, one of the largest grassroots tournaments around. Matt, you actually organized this. Why don't you talk about that process?
Okay, so some of you may know I was at Philadelphia, and that was a lot of fun. And I wanted to go to Virginia, but I started realizing that might not be possible around December. So to satisfy my own selfish itch, I actually rang up Alex on the Facebook group, and I said, hey, here's an idea. What if we ran a tournament at Penn State? And he thought it was pretty cool. So he was behind me 100% of the way, and I really appreciate that. And then we spent a lot of time talking logistics, dates, rooms, prizes, and it was a three-way conversation between myself, Alex, and Nick Frieda, who has been nothing but fantastic in this whole thing. And it's all kind of culminated into this, and it was just the perfect circumstance.
Yes, it was, and we had a good field here. We had 16 players, top cut of 8, and it was some very high-quality matches going on, so you should be very proud of yourself for that.
Yeah, I can't help but feel we got a little bit Nemo'd, though, by...
That's true. But at the end, it was Alex Valente who was able to win the championship. So, Alex, why don't you talk about the tournament?
Well, it was a really fun tournament. I'm really surprised at the outcome. Hoping for a little more people, but still we got a good turnout. It was a good showing for our first ever tournament like this. There were a lot of good players here, a lot of good people from our club, a lot of good people from outside of our club, actually. It was surprising. I'm glad they came. My battles are really just like how I've been practicing on PO and stuff, although I did get more hacks than I did on general PO battles on an average day. But, it's part of the game, so it's how it is. I say that now, of course, when I already won, but had I lost, I probably would have been saying this is ridiculous and everything. But anyway, it was a good battle. It was a good tournament. I'm very honored to be here.
Yeah, well, you certainly showed your stuff. You beat Andres in the finals, who top 3 at the Virginia Regional, very strong Virginia Regional. So you should be very proud of yourself for that. So what kind of prizes did you win? What kind of prizes do we have here?
Well, between Nick and myself, we raised $150 cash for this tournament, and that was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to get real prizes for a tournament, since I feel like regionals kind of doesn't scratch that itch for a lot of competitive people. And on top of that, Nick was kind enough to supply us with $50 worth of Pokemon TCG packs, and I think that helped bring some people in.
Yeah, absolutely. We also had a really nice plaque that the winner won that looked like there was some good money put into it as well.
Yeah, Alex pretty much bought that for himself.
Yeah. Funny how that turns out, huh? So it was interesting. We had 16 competitors, and we actually had a top cut of 8. Normally for events like this, we do a top cut of 4. Do you want to explain the reasoning behind that?
Well, everyone likes to play. I mean, there's no really arguing about it. And with a field of 16 going down to 4, I feel like you kind of take away that mentality of, hey, we're here to have fun. Well, there are prizes, but there's fun. And it also gave us 3 more battles, and it really kind of helped with the duration of this tournament. And I really think that's what we needed, especially from a streaming standpoint.
Absolutely. It seemed like the Swiss rounds went by so fast, because there were only 4 of them with the 16. So it was...
There was only 4 rounds, and they were well organized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but we had matchups on a projector screen, not on a paper in a remote part of a hotel. So I think that helped a lot with speeding things up.
The organization is something I wanted to get into a little bit as well, because I thought that this tournament was run exceptionally well, especially after some of the experiences that we've had at past VGCs.
We still have more than Missouri of 2012.
Yeah, exactly. But everything went really smooth. How long was Swiss? It was 2 hours long. It was fast.
Yeah, it might not have even been that.
Yeah.
But it was just shy of that, I think. And it was kind of, it's not that big a deal that it was that short because half the field made in the top cut. So I feel like having fast splits wasn't really bad.
Yeah, I agree. And that was something I really liked, not only because I benefited from getting into the top cut with the 8, but just because of what you had mentioned earlier. Everyone has more of a chance to play, more of a chance to win. But in the end, it didn't matter because we saw the top 2 seeds, or 2 of the top seeds in the finals anyway. Interesting how that works out. But in terms of the actual battling, I thought the quality was really, really good for just a grassroots tournament like this.
Yeah, it was really good, yet it was shockingly different. I'm not sure if we want to talk about this later, but the metagame here at Penn State is much different than the metagame you would see at a regional on Pokemon Online or even the Global Battle Union. It's its own animal.
It's definitely true, and you saw a lot of these players had been playing with each other a ton. I know Alex, like you and Andres, have been playing.
We've been friends for 2 years, and I've battled pretty much every other day for a long, long time.
So I'm sure it was a very interesting final set, but that adds a whole other layer to it. And we saw stuff like we saw a team switching the no guard onto Sheer Cold Suicune, which actually top cutted and almost took down Alex, right?
Yeah, if I didn't get some lucky flinches and burns, Katie Baker's no guard skill swapping would have really gotten to me. She switched onto a Suicune with Sheer Cold, and then it was just lights out.
Certainly some interesting teams, very interesting teams. Another Pokemon we saw a ton of was Gastrodon. Gastrodon did really well, and you had a Gastrodon on your team?
I did. Gastrodon is actually a favorite of our club. I'm not sure why not that many other players use it. I think it counters a lot of things. If you EV it right and put the right natures and stuff on, it can outlive Latios, it can outlive Landorus T. Not at the same time, obviously, but it's a good counter for a lot of common threats now that you see. I'm up here a lot, and I EV my Gastrodon to outlive a Dracozoom, Dracometeor, and then enough short to 2 KO back with Ice Beam. It doesn't always work because there's other factors involved, but that's the math numbers anyway.
Mm-hmm. And you were using Recover, so it's probably very, very frustrating to see that Gastrodon survive and then just recover off the damage to take more hits. So it's a really good Pokemon. Another one we saw a lot of was Dusclops.
Yeah, Dusclops. Probably the bulkiest Trick Room setter I can think of off the top of my head.
Absolutely. I actually was using Dusclops, and it did pretty well for me. It's very, very bulky, and I was running it with screens as well, which makes it even more bulky. And, with Pain Split can really, flip the match on its head, and it can use Trick Room as well. So it's very solid.
It was almost an offensive threat with that Pain Split.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Did you have Will-O-Wisp on your Dusclops?
I did not, and during our battle, you kept saying, "Oh, he's probably going to Will-O-Wisp it," and I knew. I was like, "I don't have it, but he thinks I do. This is a huge advantage." Of course, it didn't actually work out for me in the end. You beat me in that third game there, but
I thought it would help you out a lot if you had WoW on there.
Yeah, it probably would have helped me out a lot because you had that Tyranitar out, and I couldn't do much against it. Yeah. So if I would have had Will-O-Wisp, I would have been able to do it. But I wanted all the other moves on there too. Pain Split was doing really well for me. There was a time I survived with a 1 HP and was able to Pain Split back up. That was huge. Trick Room for obvious reasons. Nightshade just to be able to do damage. And then my last one was Taunt, which you don't see too often on Dusclops.
I was shocked when I saw it.
Yeah, it was actually an idea that Fishy, Allison McDonald, came up with and suggested I try. And I really, really liked it because, under Trick Room, it's got that fast Taunt. And if you get, Cresselia comes out to try to reverse the Trick Room. No, Taunt, and you can't do it. So
it's also more reliable than Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah, absolutely, because you got the Will-O-Wisp miss chance. But, I think in terms of our battle, it would have helped me out. But overall... Every
move has its own niche.
Yeah.
Today Will-O-Wisp might have helped you. Tomorrow it might have hurt you to have have a little on there over taunt, but it's a good option to have taunt on there. I like it. Don't see it that much on a slower Pokemon, but like you said, under Trick Room, it can really do a lot of damage. Like if someone wants to calm mind up or whatever, I wouldn't know what you want to do in a Trick Room. You might want to just kill things, but I can see how taunt had its advantages.
Alex, your opponent was Andres Morales, who we've already talked about. You're great friends with him. You battle a ton, but he had a pretty interesting team. Most notably, minimized Chansey.
Not the most popular, but effective.
Not the most popular, but very effective. He went undefeated in the Swiss rounds and made it all the way to the finals with it. But your team matched up pretty well against Chansey, so you didn't really have to worry about it too much.
Well, actually, to Andres' credit, he didn't use minimize Chansey all that much. He used actual move minimize once or twice. I think only once during the whole Swiss. But he did use a Chansey, and I just hate Chansey. And I think to be a good sport, to be a good friend or something, he actually did not bring it at all to our championship match, like any three of them. But he did have a good solid core besides that. He had a Togekiss that was extremely fast. It might have been Scarfed, I'm not exactly sure yet. He had was it Scarfed?
It was Scarfed, yes.
Okay. Well, there it is.
Yeah, it was Scarf and it had Trick on it, so, yep.
He had that and a really bulky Ninetales. I was surprised it was that bulky. For as bulky as his Ninetales was, his Scissor was absolutely not that bulky.
Yeah, and I was talking to Andres afterward, and he said that he actually runs 252 attack, 252 special defense on that Scissor. So that's why it was so frail, wasn't able to take that close combat. He says it's able to take fire moves, Hidden Power Fire from Cresselia without Knockaberry. So that's what he was going for. It's a good idea, but it just didn't work out for him in that battle. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if Chansey would have matched up really with your team, because you had that Terrakion. Usually you see close combat on Terrakion, but you ran something different.
Well, let me tell you about that. Last night I was talking to Matt, and I was saying, wow, what if I run into something with Minimize, or something that has Stockpile or something like that? And he's like, well, there's this move called Sacred Sword that you can use that just ignores all stat changes on the opponent. I'm like, I have never heard of this. I was just used close combat and never even thought there was something else. So I looked it up, and I thought, wow, this move is actually pretty effective. So I threw it on Terrakion, and it definitely would have saved me had I seen the Chansey. But it turns out that this Sacred Sword with Terrakion was not enough to 2-hit KO Andres' Gastrodon set. So I'm not sure exactly what the set was. But anyway, it didn't 2-hit KO it, so there was some stall wars going out with Recover and Substitute and Sacred Sword, and me not killing the Gastrodon the amount of turns I need to kill it. But yeah, I did not use close combat, which was rare for me.
Yeah, usually you see the close combat on that. And it also worked out, you were saying that the Sacred Sword didn't 2-HKO the Gastrodon anyway, but Andres' Gastrodon ran Stockpile, which increased its defense, which Sacred Sword ignores. Right. Whereas close combat, you would have had to go through that defense, so it might not even 2-HKO'd anyway.
Well, close combat there also would have made my defenses drop, and then if the Earth Power, that would have been done. So I actually like Sacred Sword on that over close combat in those situations.
At least from this metagame, I'd say. Yeah.
So Matt, you were saying that you were helping Alex out with this team a little bit before. How much input did you actually have?
Well, it started out. We are recording this on a Saturday. I think the first input really came Thursday when we happened to run into each other on Pokemon Online, and he had a pretty good team, but it was Heatran week, and I was running Heatran, so I used that to win.
Yeah, you don't want to be Heatran week.
Yeah, so
that's for sure.
He was frustrated, so he asked me for some input, and I told him, you could go with the Sand, Tyranitar, Excadrill kind of core thing. And he did that, and by the time I had shown up here after one hellish bus ride, I saw the team, and it was pretty good. So the one thing we did is we subbed in Cresselia and over something because you had slow Pokemon on your team too. So I figured a Trick Room element would work. And then in hindsight, it's kind of looking like regional champion 616's team a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And let's see here, what else? I had
a Rotom W, and we put Cresselia in over it with the Trick Room.
Yeah.
And
Rotom W is one of your favorites to use. Well, that's right.
You guys might think that's weird. I used a Rotom W Gastro combo. I know that completely nerfs Hydro Pump on Rotom, but believe me, it helps a lot. When I battled Ray Rizzo actually in Virginia, that combination helped me out quite a bit in that battle, and it was kind of surprising. But I realized for the general mass situations, those two together aren't really
Yeah.
that well synced.
Yeah, so there was that, and then I think it was this morning you were getting kind of cold feet about the Excadrill, and that's when we switched to Terrakion, and that's when I made that suggestion. And I'd say it paid its dividends for this tournament.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I had an extra drill instead of Terrakion at first, and I guess to say it wouldn't really matter. All I needed was a strong, fast rock slide. But I like the sub on Terrakion, I like the Sacred Sword, so I think it was a good switch. Thanks for suggesting that, Matt.
The sub on Terrakion was really interesting. I've used Terrakion a bunch, but I always opt for the Focus Sash variant so I wouldn't dream of using a sub. But it worked out really well for you. Was that the third game you were able to get a sub up and that won it for you? That was nice.
Well, the first battle against Andres, I knew I needed to have sub because it was Terrakion and Gastron, that's what it came down to. And my Sacred Sword was a 3-hit KO if he didn't attack at all. And if he attacked twice, I would die. So that's why I wanted sub on there, so I could predict the sub. And when he recovered, I could sub. But I didn't get that prediction off during the first battle, but I wised up later on.
And so, yeah. What else?
I think we could talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the online world. Kind of move on from Penn State.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up then. We'll wrap up the Penn State thing. Okay. So this was a very successful tournament, Matt. Do you think you'll be running something like this again in the future?
I would love to. I think next time we're going to pick the time of year so we can't get hit by a snowstorm.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just got unlucky.
Yeah, although you all have been great for coming out here despite the weather, although you guys I think it hit too hard. So still, way to show up. And I really want to get more people coming in, especially the New Jersey crowd, the New York crowd. There's Cybertron, Sapphire Birch, maybe even get Ray in here. That's where I really want to take this, and I want to make this the apex of Pokemon.
With the prize pool this big, you would be surprised if bigger players will not want to come to this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really awesome. There's some really cool prizes out here. I did not expect to have this big of a prize at such a little competition.
Yeah.
But the prizes are really great.
Well, maybe we can do an entry fee next time since a lot of the players are getting older now. So a lot of players that would travel will be 16 by that point. So we can actually get them in.
That's pretty cool. You should work on this too.
Yeah. Got to figure out when Aaron turns 16.
Yeah. That's dang. Well, thank you for joining us, Alex. Do you want to talk about the Penn State Pokémon Society at all?
If you want to talk to, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me, by the way. But I'm the president of the Penn State Pokémon Society. We are a pretty big club here at Penn State. We get together weekly to play the Pokemon video game. We play the card game too. We have tournaments and video games and cards, different themed tournaments every week. We have our big event coming up on March 16th called the Penn State Pokemon Challenge. We station 8 gym leaders around campus, like in real life, in the game real life. And the challengers go around to the 8 gym leaders and battle them and collect all the badges. There's also side quests, other fun things to do. There's events, there's roaming legendaries even sometimes. I don't know what's in store for this time. But then you get 8 badges, you have to go to Elite 4 next day. And just how we have this awesome plaque for the winner of this, we got a pretty awesome Hall of Fame plaque.
Yeah, I've seen the Hall of Fame plaque. It is very swanky. Thank you for running this, you guys. I know you had a big hand in this as well, Alex, so thank you very much.
No problem. It was my pleasure to do all this.
Now, Matt, something that was really, really cool about this event was the streaming that you had going on. So I know you've been practicing your commentating all throughout the week. Is that right?
That is correct. At the time of recording, we had this thing called Magma vs. Bulls. Really, it's kind of a crew battle of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
For those not familiar, in crew battles, you have like groups of people, typically in fighting games, play against another group, and then it's kind of a team effort. And this was kind of the Pokemon adaptation of that.
So what kind of players do we see on each of the teams? I know Team Magma is pretty famous.
Yeah, we saw a lot of famous players. We saw Fidget, Chalky, Benji the Great, who is just tearing up regionals lately.
Oh, yeah.
Dim Sun, Seniors World Champ. Mr. Bopper, who is a severely underrated player. And the Zero Virus, who... He's a solid battler. I don't think many people have heard of him, but he's getting there. And then on the other hand, you had the Bulls, which was absolutely stacked, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. They were stacked.
You had Zach, who was also tearing up regionals.
Mm-hmm. He's won 2 of them.
Yeah, you had Ben 7000, who just won a regional. You have Biosci, who came in second in a regional. And do I need to start? I think I've made my point.
Yeah, you've made your point. And what was the final results? I think Bulls ended up taking it.
There's still 3 Magmas left standing.
It's still going on. Okay.
As a matter of fact, me and Ben and I are going to commentate. Oh, my mistake. Cybertron and I will be commentating Ben versus Dim Sum, which that's going to be like the highlight match, I think.
Oh, that's a great match. That's definitely one I want to see. You know, also recently we've had the Wi-Fi tournament go on, and that just finished up. We saw a whole lot less disqualifications this time around.
Definitely. I think TPCI has made its point by the mass disqualification that happened last time that it's not acceptable to disconnect once. So I think a lot of players got the message, and as a result, I think the ratings were a bit lower in this tournament.
They were a bit lower. I was surprised because I played for a little bit. 25 battles, I think it was, in the tournament, and my team wasn't doing so great, so I put it down and forgot about it, and then I went and checked, and I got a CP from it. So I finished 128th with a rating of like 1624. Is not high at all.
Yeah, I finished with about a 1712. Got 2 CP out of it. I'm like disappointed in my rating because I think I'm a better player than that, although we all think we're better than we really are. But I kept getting matched up with people in the 1400s, so it was hard to get points. So I went 34-3, but I had a terrible rating, so it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, those Wi-Fi tournaments are really interesting because you just have to play them a little bit differently than you would a live event, which adds a little bit more intrigue to them. But I like them. I think it's a positive direction. We're going to see a bunch more this season, right? For more CP opportunities.
I think we are going to see 3 more this season.
3 more this season. Yeah, yes. That sounds right. So about once a month, which will be good. All right, well, that just about wraps it up for this edition of The Interview. Thank you for listening.
And this has been BearsFan092.
I'm Dubulous. See you next time.
Later, guys.
This has been a Nugget Bridge Radio Network production. For more information about our podcasts and in-depth analysis of the VGC circuit, visit www.nuggetbridge.com.